Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here as we get set for the 29th race of the season. More importantly, playoff race number 3, elimination race number 1. At the conclusion of today's race, we will have cut the field down from 16 to 12 competitors still in the hunt for this season's Duracell Cup Series Championship, and we kick things off here elimination style at the home to the Yard of the Bricks, maybe one of the most historical tracks out there on the motorsports circuit. This is Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 40 laps of racing here today. There's one driver that's already locked in to the round of 12, that of course being K Friesen, winning back at the first playoff race at Richmond. Everybody else is kind of question marks. There are a couple of drivers, and we'll get to this in a moment, that if they at least finish the race, they may end up already locking themselves in through points after good runs at both Richmond and last week at the Charlotte Roval. But there's about 5 drivers in particular we're going to be keeping tabs on today that are down near that cut line around 12th in the standings, and of course 4 drivers that are down in 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th, and there's a pretty big gap from 11th to 12th, so it may just be those 5 drivers that are going to be battling out for one potential remaining playoff position, 12th in the standings. But remember, if any of those 5 drivers end up winning today's race, automatically they move on to the round of 12. On the pole position for today's race, and I just noticed before we came on the air, Ryan Butcher on the pole position. This is his 4th pole on the season. He was tied with J Qualls and Phil Parker for most poles coming into this, 3 apiece for all of them, and now Ryan Butcher with the pole position here today now has the most poles on the season. His most recent pole was actually 2 weeks ago at Richmond, so that team has been really good in their qualifying effort. They're still, though, looking for their first win of Season 3. Alongside of him is going to be Jordan Lopes. Now, Lopes had a great run, a runner-up finish at Richmond. He had a mediocre run last week at the Charlotte Roval. That brings him 7th in the playoff points coming into today's race. Now, right now, the gap he needs to worry about is between him and 12th in the standings. And if my calculations are correct, he has a 27-point gap between himself and 12th, so that's manageable. Looks like if he can at least keep his car up front and have a decent finish, he will be moving on to the round of 12. Mitchell Collins is going to make up the inside of row 2. Collins, another driver, still looking for his first win. Of course, remember back when he finished runner-up, I believe it was at Chicago Motor Speedway, to his teammate. That's the highest he's been in being close to winning a race this season. He'll start alongside of N Hudson, who comes into this race maybe in the most critical position in the standings, 12th in points. He is the cutoff line driver. He needs to keep himself ahead of the competition behind him and maybe pass a couple of guys that are ahead of him in the point standings. It's 10 points to the nearest driver ahead of him in the standings. That's teammate Austin LaPlante. Only 5 points back till you get to J Millz and R Brommer, 13th and 14th in the points. So he really needs a good run here today. And completing the top 5 is going to be Matthew Rodriguez in the 57. He, of course, is also still looking for his first win of the season and first win since all the way back in Season 1. Let's go down trackside, get those most famous words in motorsports, and give you your point scenarios coming into today's elimination race at Indianapolis.
Drivers, start your engines!
So as mentioned, one driver is already locked into the round of 12 regardless of what happens here today. That is K Friesen. With Michael Norman winning last week at the Charlotte Roval, we only have one confirmed playoff contender moving on. However, there are a number of drivers coming into this race that are up there in the point standings with a pretty good gap over 12th, and they would include Levi McIntyre, who right now is the overall point standings leader of the playoffs. He comes into this race, and I'm going to try and try and get the calculations correct in my head. He comes into this race, I believe it is 43 points ahead of the cutoff line. Max, to be able to be automatically locked in, is 47 points. So he's right there, though. Carson Gum, he comes into this race total of 36 points ahead of the cut line. Vince Almoriego is 31 points ahead of the cut line. Am I saying that right? Yes, 31 points ahead of the cut line. I'm second guessing myself here. 29 points ahead of the cut line is J Llamas. 28 points is Dylan Young and K Batson. 27 points is Jordan Lopes. We already mentioned that. We won't mention Carter Friesen because he's already locked in. James Qualls is 9th in points. He is 19 points ahead of the cut line. 16 points ahead of the cut line is... No, I'm sorry. 14 points ahead of the cut line is Jack Mitchell. He's 10th in points. Austin LaPlante in 11th is 10 points ahead of the cut line. Nathan Hudson, we already mentioned, is the cut line driver. And then the 4 drivers in elimination spots right now. Jose Millz, 13th, is 5 points out of the top 12. Ryan Brommer, 14th, also 5 points out. Matt Haas is 15th in the stands. He's 9 points out. And Zach Rogers is 26 points back. Back-to-back horrible runs at Richmond and Charlotte Roval. He's almost in a must-win situation to move on to the next round. This is a driver that was in the Final Four for back-to-back seasons. Green flags in the air. Let's roll at the Yard of Bricks. Hold on a second. My audio levels were incorrect. There we go. Apologies for that. I just realized that when we came on the air. That's unfortunate. Anyway, nothing happened. Ryan Butcher takes the lead. Mitchell Collins moves into second. Matthew Rodriguez fighting T Wright for third, as hopefully they'll make it here through 3 and 4, which is usually the trouble spot without incident. Something I noticed here today, as opposed to most Indianapolis races that we have, it is overcast. It is cloudy, so the track is going to be cooler. The conditions in terms of grip are going to be higher. So we're going to see, I think, hopefully a lot of good racing here as M Saatchi makes the move around T Wright. And there is Carson Gum, right now the highest running playoff contender, in the 4th position. Came into this race second in the points, had that big gap back to 12th, and if he can keep running just right where he is definitely moving on to the round of 12. Benny Watson's going to ride behind this battle for third in the 5th position. Cody Llamas right there, 4th in the playoff points, has now worked his way up to the 6th spot. A couple of drivers that faded back but have now found their way to the inside line, Nathan Hudson and Jordan Lopez. Hudson right now in the 10th position, Lopez back in 12th. Carson Gum makes the easy pass on M Saatchi for 3rd place, and Benny Watson follows in his tire tracks. Moving up to 4th as battle may be heating up for the lead. Mitchell Collins is slowly closing up the gap between himself and the Gatorade Camry of Ryan Butcher. Right now, though, amongst the top 3, Carson Gum may be the fastest car on the track. Carson winning the season opening Daytona 500, of course winning later on in the year at Bristol Dirt. And that win at Bristol Dirt pretty much got him back into playoff contention after he had spent a good portion of the second half of the regular season outside the top 30 in the standings, and he has now got a big run on the front straightaway. He makes the move for 2nd place on Mitchell Collins into turn 1. Easy pass. M Saatchi trying to get by Benny Watson, and that's something we're going to keep tabs on during the course of this race as well, is when drivers get side by side, everyone behind them is going to reel them in. You saw when Saatchi and Watson were side by side. Look at how Llamas, William Brock, Nathan Hudson, they're going to all work together, and Benny Watson's going to lose a number of positions. Now we've got a battle on for the lead. Carson Gum taking a look there on Ryan Butcher. He's going to get the inside here in turn 4. They're going to be side by side to the line. Will we have our first official lead change here on lap 5? No, doesn't look like it. Butcher hangs on by a splitter to lead that lap. And look at this, how Saatchi, Collins, Llamas, Brock. Now we got 6 drivers up here in the hunt for the race lead. And now Carson Gum trying to scamper away and open up some distance between himself and the new 2nd place driver, which is M Saatchi, our winner from Dover earlier on this season. Let's drop back and see about some of our other playoff contenders. Right now, you've only got 3 of them up inside of the top 10. Lopez just outside the top 10 right now, trying to make it around his teammate T Wright. There's Matt Haas. Matt is 16th on the track right now, and he was 9 points, I believe, behind the cut line, behind Nathan Hudson, so he's got to get up there to that 24. Ryan Brommer, 4 points behind the cut line, right now running in the 16th position. Three-time winner Dylan Young battling here with Levi McIntyre. Right now with where Levi is running, which would be around the 22nd position currently, he's locked into the next round. If he can just remain there, Dylan Young currently fifth in the playoff points. Looks like he's working his way to the front. Austin LaPlante, mentioned about him and Nathan Hudson, it being a 10-point gap from 11th back to 12th in the standings. So LaPlante running in 27th place. I think he needs to work his way up a little bit higher than that because he does not want Nathan Hudson to knock him down anywhere close to that cut line. There's last week's winner, Michael Norman, who dominated Charlotte Roval. He's got Keith Batson to his outside. Keith 6th in the playoff points coming into this one. And a total of 28 points ahead of the cut line. Right now he is running in 29th. Vince Almariego, 3rd in points. 31 points ahead of the cut line. He's riding in 32nd. And Jose Millz, winningest driver in the Duracell Cup Series, 2-time winner this season. If I remember correctly, he has made it into the round of 12 at least in the past 2 seasons. If he does not make it this time, it'll be the first time the 98 has made the playoffs but not advanced past the first round. We've got a lot of playoff contenders actually back here still at the tail end of this group. See, Keith Batson is dropping. So he's stuck on the outside line. Carter Friesen back here, but he doesn't have to worry about anything. Looking at James Qualls. Qualls came in 9th in points. Only 19 points ahead of the cut line. He's got his teammate right behind him there, Nathan Orman. Jack Mitchell, the regular season champion, 37th right now. And he was 10th in the points coming into this one. Only 14 points ahead of the cut line. And there is Zach Rogers riding currently in the 38th position. He needed to be up at the front, and I don't know what's going on with this team all of a sudden, but Zach Rogers, who's been in the Final Four for the championship in back-to-back seasons, looks like he may not even be advancing past the first round of the playoffs. 26 points behind the cut line. He was involved in a wreck at Richmond that didn't bring out a caution, finished that race a lap down. Then he was involved in an incident under the pace lap last week at Charlotte Roval, never even got to take the green flag. It has been a horrible round 1, and he's running currently in the 38th position here in the elimination race in technically a must-win situation. Playoff drivers about to battle maybe for the race lead. Cody Llamas has made his way around Ryan Butcher, and he is starting to chip away at Carson Gumb's race lead. Now, in terms of how the playoff points work, all of the drivers at the beginning of the playoffs got 5 bonus points for every win they had during the regular season. For the 12 drivers that move on, they will all be tied up. Nobody gets any bonus points for wins during this round. The only thing that wins count towards is they automatically lock you into the next round. So for Carson Gum and Cody Llamas, as well as Carter Friesen, who already has a W here in this round, they don't get 5 bonus points here heading into the second round as far as wins during playoff round number 1. But all these drivers are competitors. They all want to win anyway. And of course, a win could give you some pretty good momentum going into the next round, which is going to be still very difficult for these drivers. Next round is going to comprise of Hillside Raceway, which is a mile track, Lime Rock, which is a road course, and Arizona Speedway, the 1.5 miles, is going to be the home to our second elimination race. So far here in this first round, we've had a playoff driver win and a non-playoff driver win. Right now, 2 playoff contenders are leading the way, but a couple of guys back here that I'm looking at that are still looking for a win and are up here inside of the top 10. Obviously, Ryan Butcher is one of them. Butcher started on the pole. William Brock and Benny Watson also, who had great regular seasons, William Brock and Benny Watson spent a good portion of the season up inside the top 5 in the standings. Matter of fact, Benny Watson spent a good portion of the season leading the points, but neither one of them got the benefit of a victory to make their way into the playoffs. So, I think their goal right now during the playoffs is find victory lane some way, shape, or form, get their first win on the season. I mean, for Benny Watson's a single car effort out of Otter Island Motorsports. For William Brock, he's the only driver in the Northeast Motorsports stable that has not won yet this season. Even his 2 rookie teammates, Jacob Thibodeaux and Nathan Hudson, have found victory lane at speedways. Speaking of Hudson, running in the 8th position, this is exactly what this young rookie needs to do. He's the only rookie that made it into the playoffs, despite the fact of there being 4 rookies that went to victory lane this season. Orman, Thibodeaux, Nathan Hudson, and I'm trying to remember, or was it just 3? It might have been just 3. But for a guy that came into this race on the cut-off line of 12th in the standings, this is definitely a good run for Nathan Hudson. We'll see if he can just stay there, because if he can stay there, there's no doubt he's running ahead of guys that were behind him in points. And he actually, like I stated, almost had a wreck right there as Ryan Butcher put a block on M Saatchi, but with where Hudson's running right now as opposed to his teammate Austin LaPlante, that could put LaPlante down on the cutoff line. So I mentioned about drivers that are outside of that cutoff line possibly winning here today and locking themselves in. Zach Rogers is near the back of the pack, as is Ryan Brommer and Jose Millz. They're not really up here towards the front. Highest driver we've got that can maybe fit that bill is running right there, M Haas in the 12th position, trying to work his way up into the top 10. He was 9 points back from Nathan Hudson, and he was 19 points back from Austin LaPlante. So if he's going to make his way in on points right now, with Hudson running ahead of him, there's no way he's going to be able to pass him. He'd be having to probably focus on the 48 as his target. Ryan Brommer right now not that far back behind him. He's right now in the 16th position. And one thing we have to kind of consider as well in this race is green flag pit stops. We have run now 13 laps, about to complete 14 laps into green flag conditions. Pit road could definitely play a factor into the outcome of this race, as we have not even reached the halfway point. A little contact back there between T Wright and William Brock in what was a battle for the 6th position. And now Brock's going to make a move on Benny Watson. That's for 5th. So as things stand right now with where drivers are running, I think we can safely say that Levi McIntyre, Carson Gum, and Cody Llamas, they are all going to be moving on to the next round, barring any issues. Jordan Lopez, with where he's running, would also be moving on to the next round. And I think Nathan Hudson, where he is currently, I think he would make it to the next round on points. Let's find out about Vince Almriego, Dylan Young, as Cole Deaver's making a pass here for 12th on M Haas. Can't do it. There's Dylan Young right now in 18th. As Carson Gum hit pit road. Green flag pit stops have begun, so Dylan Young, I think at this point, would be locked in. Almriego's back in 27th, so I don't know if he'd be locked in or not. And there's Levi McIntyre right now, 24th. All Levi needed to finish today is in the 35th position, and he would be locked into the next round based on the number of points he had over the 12th in the standings cutoff line. M Saatchi just took the lead away from Cody Llamas after Llamas took it away from Carson Gum, who hit pit road before the halfway point. So this may be a 2-stop race if we remain under green the entire way, and looks like everybody here is going to come to pit lane in this lead group. Got a driver staying out back there. That looks like Ryan Acosta in the 10 is going to stay out an extra lap, as well as Austin LaPlante in the 48. couple of other playoff contenders staying out as well. I saw J Millz, Zach Rogers, and Carter Friesen all staying out. Aaron Macklin also, as well as Nathan Ormond, Phil Parker, last week's winner Michael Norman, and Kyle Mathews. So Ryan Acosta inherits the race lead, but even if all these guys have to come to pit road on this next lap, projected, these guys are still going to be about 4 laps short of making it the rest of the way on fuel. If this is indeed the furthest these guys can go. So, I mean, we're looking at, barring a caution coming out, we're looking at these drivers all coming back to pit road again between laps 34 to 36, which is 4 to 6 laps remaining in the race, which technically would be the money stop. And everybody that stayed out that last time is pitting this time. So we just established the furthest these drivers can go is about 17 laps on 1 tank of fuel. That will not allow them to make it the rest of the way on fuel without one more pit stop in this event, albeit under green flag conditions or maybe under the caution. M Saatchi, a little something there to kind of squirrel away. Saatchi came to pit road the lap after Carson Gum did, and he's going to come out with fresher tires in the race lead. Cody Lamas in second, and now Carson Gum falls back to third. Going to try and get around Cody for the second position. And I don't think that there's going to be much of a challenge for M Saatchi's lead as far as these drivers coming off pit road. And there's your answer right there. Ryan Acosta, who led that third and final group down pit road, just got passed as he was leaving the pit lane exit out of turn 1. Carson Gum gets around Cody Lamas and now sets his sights to reel back in that FedEx Chevrolet. Saatchi looking for his 3rd career win, 2nd of the season. We already documented about his Dover win earlier on this year. His first career win was at Lime Rock, a track we're going to in 2 weeks. That was last season when he took his first checkered flag. Right now the top 3 all there, nose to tail, maybe about half a second separating them. Carter Friesen actually led that last lap. I should document that. That's a nice bonus point there, even though he already is locked into the next round. And so as Saatchi crosses the line and jumps back up to the top of the leaderboard, everything's going to cycle around, and we're going to try and give you a full field rundown. So Saatchi the leader, Carson Gum in second, Cody Lamas right now runs third, and caution is out. So, I don't think with this caution coming out, these drivers will be able to pit again and still be within their fuel window. So anyway, just to give you the top 10 rundown, it was Saatchi, Gum, Lamas, Brock, Watson. That's the top 5. Then Ryan Butcher, T Wright, Matt Haas, Jesse Turner, and Matthew Rodriguez. But who brought out the yellow is the question. And it may very well have been a playoff contender in Jordan Lopez in the 38, who was running up inside of the top 10. You can see rear end damage on the back of his NVIDIA Ford Mustang. And this is a guy that came in 7th in the playoff points and a total of 27 points ahead of the 12th in the standings cut line. I don't think we're going to see anyone on pit road. Everybody just pitted about 2 to 3 laps ago. Oh, we do have some takers. Charles Belding is coming in. And I think we may have had a stack up under pacing because Nathan Hudson's got some damage now. As does Adam Garcia and Ryan Acosta. Uh-oh, that's not good for the 24. Dylan Young's in as well. Jacob Thibodeaux is going to pit. Kyle Mathews and Jordan Lopez. For some of these guys, I think this is regularly scheduled stops for like the 91-2, 33-09. I think they're trying to top off. We're going to follow the 24 here because he was the cutoff line driver, and if he DNFs out of this race, this is going to definitely probably eliminate him from moving on to the next round. What a tough break. He's going to try and get that car repaired. But Indianapolis is so aerodynamically dependent. Don't know how up to speed he's going to be. You see, they took the hood off the 12 of Garcia, Belding, and Young, and Thibodeaux. Mathews, they complete their service, so they'll be the ones to maybe watch here if this thing goes green to the end on whether they can make it on fuel or not. They're going to go for the risk. Let's go back and see what happened first to bring out the caution, and then we'll see what happened to give Nathan Hudson this damage, as well as R Acosta and Adam Garcia. My assumption is something under pacing. There it was. Tough to tell what position they were battling for, as some drivers had just come off pit road and some hadn't, but contact between some playoff contenders. R Brommer just drives it into the door of Jordan Lopes and sent him up the track. Unofficially, that was a battle for around the 22nd position, and wow, he nearly got nailed by Mitchell Collins. That was a close call. But you can see damage to the right side and rear of his machine. They did bring the car down pit road, tried to repair it. He had that 27-point buffer coming into this race, and the guy that he had the buffer to, of course, got some damage as well, Nathan Hudson, so that may help Lopez's chances a little bit. Let's now go and look and see what happened to the Jack Daniels Chevrolet. And here it was. Yeah, a lot of drivers had stacked up. And you see them all there up towards the front, all kind of fanning out to give each other room, trying to slow down for pacing. Unfortunately, they all remain single file behind R Brommer. Hudson gets into the back of him. Acosta's into the back of Hudson. And Garcia is into the back of R Acosta. And so that stack up is definitely going to cost Garcia a chance at a good finish. Same for R Acosta potentially. And boy, Nathan Hudson's task just got a lot tougher. I'd also worry about that rear end damage that R Brommer's got in the back of his Dodge. He didn't come to pit road, but he definitely has got some damage now with the 24 run to the back of him. So that's two of our playoff contenders with some issues here under pacing. And pacing has really been a thing here that's been an issue for drivers during the course of this first round. To go back to last week at Charlotte Roval, Zach Rogers DNF'd because of an incident under pacing. I believe another playoff contender, J Qualls, was involved in that. So I don't know what it is with pacing here in round one, but it's causing just as much havoc as green flag racing is, which, by the way, we're going back to. Let's head back for the restart here at Indy. Alright, so we had those 4 or 5 drivers come down pit road and top off. We're going to be going back green with 18 laps to go. And I believe it was 17 laps was the furthest that drivers made it on a tank of fuel. So I think even with them topping off, I think we still are short. Those drivers maybe were planning on seeing another caution, being able to save another lap or two of fuel under pacing, but we'll have to wait and see how it all shapes out. Marcus Saatchi's going to lead us back to green over Carson Gum, Cody Lamas, William Brock, and Benny Watson. That is your top 5. Ryan Butcher, the pole sitter, 6th. T Wright, 7th. Matt Haas up there needing to get into the top 12 in points. He's 8th. Jesse Turner and Matthew Rodriguez complete the top 10. Marcus Saatchi, boy, he was on it there with the drop of the green flag. He's going to open up a pretty good gap of about maybe 2.5 car lengths going into turns 1 and 2. Going to stack them up for second place on back. Cody Lamas trying to take a peek on Carson Gum. At the same time, with them remaining single file through 1 and 2, that whole group's going to have a heck of a run on Marcus Saatchi. But Carson Gum doesn't have the momentum, and that's going to put Cody Lamas to his inside for the runner-up spot. Benny Watson, another Camry, going to follow in his tire tracks. Cody couldn't make the move on Carson Gum, now falls into a side-by-side battle with William Brock up on the outside line. They're going to be 3 wide maybe back here. That was Turner, Haas, and Butcher that looked like they were about to attempt that. Well, with Nathan Hudson sustaining the damage he did, that puts a little bit of pressure off the 48 of Austin LaPlante, who now is up in the 13th position. Had that 10-point buffer between himself and his teammate, and right now looking good to move on to the next round as he's following behind R Brommer. That Cole Deaver got a little loose going into the corner, opened up the bottom. R Brommer says thank you kindly. He's going to try and pass Deaver, trying to work his way up into the top 10. He's got LaPlante following him. And we got to follow back and see here after everybody cycled around with pit stops and everything. You got J Millz battling there with teammate Levi McIntire. Right now he's scored in 20th. Zach Rogers, furthest he's been up all day. He's in 25th. There's J Qualls in 26th. Keith Batson in 27th. But the one driver that he kind of would have to worry about right now, right there, Nathan Hudson, right now in the 37th position. And the guy he has to worry about, 2 drivers he has to worry about right now are J Millz and R Brommer. They are both running up ahead of him, as is Matt Haas. All four of the drivers that were trying to wrestle away 12th position in the standings from him are running ahead of him on track right now. I believe the spot would belong to the 9 of R Brommer with the way they're running right now. Brommer right now in 11th. J Gardner trying to take that spot away from him. I believe the battle could be currently between Brommer and Haas. They were 4 points separated coming into this one. Brommer right now, we'll see where he crossed the line in. Looks like Matt Haas about 6 cars ahead of him, maybe 7. And now as he's stuck in that outside line, that rear end damage he sustained under pacing when Hudson ran into the back of him may be affecting him now. He crossed the line in 16th. Matt Haas right now in 9th. So right now it looks like Matt Haas would hold on to the final transfer position to move on to the next round. Back up at the front, M Saatchi continues to lead. It's been a good battle here amongst Llamas, Watson, and Gumdo for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Llamas going to move into the runner-up spot. Watson's going to look to move into the final podium position. Does so. Carson Gum trying to get his momentum back as T Wright drove it in deep into 4. And remember, for all these drivers, they're still going to have to pit. I think even those guys that were back there and came to pit road to top off under that caution, I think they're still going to have to pit. If we drop to the back again, I want to look at the 38 of J Lopes. Right now he is scored in 39th place. He's trying to catch up here to this group that also holds a couple of cars that have received some damage in some way, shape, or form. You got the 10 and the 24 up there. 27 points is pretty good, but when you're running 39th, I don't know. We know that Matt Haas is running well. We know that Austin LaPlante is running well. R Brommer was up there. So I don't know if that run he had back at Richmond, if that's going to help him be able to hold up to get into the next round or not. Another thing that I noticed too was guys back here that had come to pit road on that 1 to green, like Dylan Young, K Mathews, Charles Belding. They had all kind of fallen back into their own little pack when that green flag dropped for the restart. Now they're all caught back up and starting to work their way up there to the front. Belding right now, the highest running of that group, has now worked up to 27th. He's got Zach Rogers behind him, that must-win situation driver, 26 points behind the cut line. And he's only been able to work his way up to 28th. A couple of guys here just riding. Oh, contact! That was Brommer and Friesen. And they keep it together, and Qualls is going to pass the both of them. But I was going to mention Qualls, Batson, Mitchell, they're just all kind of riding back here outside of the top 20. But we nearly had our second caution of the day right there, and that would have been in a whole clump of playoff contention. I mean, look at all the blue banners right there. The 54, 37, 9, 01, 39, and 6. Matt Haas is dropping. That's not good for the 8. He needs to keep himself up there, especially with the fact that the 9 is dropping as well. Matt Haas has to worry now about the 98 of J Millz, who's only about 4 cars behind him in the 18th position. Because Millz came into this race a total of 4 points ahead of Haas in the standings. So right now I think those two would be tied for the final playoff position. Almariego has now worked his way up to 12th, so it looks like he'd be moving on to the next round. LaPlante's cracked the top 10. You got 2 of the Northeast Motorsports cars up here in the top 10 now with LaPlante and Brock. And how about Michael Norman? He's now worked his way up into, I believe that is the 5th position, as Cody Llamas all of a sudden is dropping. Norman's now up into the top 5, looking for back-to-back wins after his first win of the season last week at the Charlotte Roval, and he's hounding the pole sitter Ryan Butcher for 4th. We've also got Jesse Turner up here having a great run in the 47. Turner, of course, winning 3 weeks ago at the regular season finale at Auto Club. He's looking for his 2nd win on the year. And we've got a battle for the lead going on. M Saatchi with a rear deck lid full of the powder blue Toyota Camry of Benny Watson. And why would Watson be battling him for the race lead right now? Well, bear in mind, we are about, if my projections are correct, about 5, maybe less than that, maybe 4 laps away from these drivers making what will be their final pit stop of the day. Carson Gum came to pit road, I believe it was on lap 16. So we could see him on pit road somewhere within the next 2 laps, I would say. Depends on how much he's saved under that caution. But I think everybody's going to have to be on pit road, as you've got just about half a second separating the top 5. You could throw a blanket over them. 3 Toyotas, 2 Chevrolets up in this lead group. And out of them, 3 of them with wins, 2 of them do not have wins. Those being Benny Watson and Ryan Butcher. At least here for the season, they don't have a win. And Carson Gum ducking down low, trying to throw a block on Ryan Butcher, but I think he may also be waving out the window saying he's coming to pit road this time. And if he does, it's going to be the start of the green flag pit stops, the money stops here to finish out this race. Nope, he just ran a defensive line down there into 3, blocking the momentum of the 78 as he'll hold on to the 3rd position. I'll tell you who really dropped back, and that's Cody Lamas. He's now fallen back outside of the top 10. He's in the 11th position, so I don't know what happened to him. Maybe his tires went away. Maybe he just got kicked up to that outside line. It's one thing about Indianapolis, it's a momentum track. So if you lose momentum, it takes a while to get back into your rhythm, and at the same time, you got drivers that are passing you for positions. So, I mean, the good news for Cody is he came into this race about 29 points ahead of the cut line. So that's the good news. So even if he drops back to where he is, he's still moving on to the next round, but he was up inside of the top 5 for a majority of this race. Got a couple of drivers battling here. Oh, we got pit stops. T Wright's in. Jesse Turner and Carson Gum are in as well. Cole Deaver's in. Matt Haas is in. So green flag pit stops start here on lap 34. It's around where I projected, so they didn't save much there under pacing. Ryan Brommer, Mitchell Collins, Patrick Smith, and Jordan Lopez have all hit pit road this lap as well. Didn't I say it was lap 34 to lap 36 we were going to see them on pit road before the caution came out? So I don't think they saved anything under pacing. M Saatchi ended up inheriting the lead, coming to pit road with the second group of drivers under the first round of green flag pit stops. So he would projected be having to come down pit road this time, and there you see, bails out of the throttle, going to pull it down low. He's going to come in. Michael Norman's going to stay out an extra lap, as will LaPlante. Phil Parker and Jose Millz as well. If I remember correctly, those guys were part of the 3rd group that came to pit road under the first cycle of pit stops. And will be interesting to see here Charles Belding. He was one of the drivers that came to pit lane to top off the fuel tank. So how much further can he go? Dylan Young also stayed out. I think he was part of that group that topped off the fuel tank under our only caution of the day. So can they go only 1 lap further, 2 laps further? We'll find out. We'll find out with that 91. I don't think they can make it the entire way. But then again, maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? So Michael Norman, we'll see if staying out this extra lap will get him any closer up to the race lead. He's going to hit pit road this time, as will LaPlante, Parker, and company. It looks like Belding is staying out in the 91. This is not a surprise. He came to pit road under the caution and topped off. The question is, how much further can he go? Dylan Young, Kyle Mathews also were a couple of drivers that came to pit lane and topped off, so I'm expecting they would stay out. There is Mathews. Thibodeaux was also part of that group. And so was Dylan Young. So those 4, I believe, were 4 that came to pit lane to top off and were not on pit road in any way, shape, or form due to damage-related incidents. So Belding, Mathews, Thibodeaux, and Young. How far can they go? Can they make it the rest of the way? My assumption is no, but we'll see. Belding having to deal here with the KB Racing Enterprise Fords. of Macklin and Batson. He's going to stay out another lap. Oh, we got a wreck! We got a wreck over in 4. That's K Mathews. That's going to bring out a caution. Caution's going to come out with about 4 laps to go. Got a car on pit road. That's R Acosta in the 10. And I think Belding had not made it back to the start-finish line before that caution came out, so he is going to pick up the pace car as the race leader. This leaves us with 2 questions. Number 1, can Belding save enough under pacing to make it the rest of the way now? And number 2, will we go back green before this race is concluded? The caution coming out with 4 laps to go says we're going to maybe have a 1-lap shootout to finish this race. And look at what we've got here for our running order now. Belding the leader. 2nd is Thibodeaux. Dylan Young in 3rd. N Hudson is now in 4th. All of a sudden, he's back in the playoff picture. And R Acosta was scored 5th, but he has brought his car to pit road, so I think Norman may cycle around to 6th after K Mathews was involved in that wreck. And Kyle was trying to do the same thing that these guys were doing, trying to make it on fuel, and Belding's going to pit. Belding is not going to stay out. Apparently he cannot make it on fuel. I didn't see any indication from the 33 of Thibodeaux, though. No, he's going to stay out. Dylan Young's coming in, and N Hudson is as well. So just like that, Hudson now back potentially outside of the playoff picture. And it's interesting with Thibodeaux staying out because that traps Jordan Lopez a lap down, as well as K Deaver. See if Thibodeaux's going to pit the next time around or not, or is he going to risk it and try and stay out? I think we are going to have a 1-lap shootout. Norman's going to line up 2nd, Saatchi 3rd, LaPlante 4th, Gum 5th, Watson, Butcher, Rodriguez, Turner, and Wright. That's the way they've got it listed for the top 10, but you've got these 3-lap machines between them and the leader Jacob Thibodeaux. And I believe it's going to be a single-file restart because it's less than 10 to go. So Thibodeaux, I think, is rolling the dice here to maybe try and pick up his 3rd win of the season as a rookie. We'll come back and document all this. For now, we got to go back and see what happened to K Mathews, bringing out our 2nd and potentially final caution of the day. This was a battle at the time for the 2nd position, actually, as all these drivers had stayed out. Mathews, Thibodeaux, Dylan Young, and N Hudson. This was all going on behind Charles Belding, and boy, it's hard to tell what happened there. I don't know if K Mathews was trying to get down low to get to pit lane, or if Thibodeaux just overdrove the corner, but I don't think K Mathews is going to be any too happy with the 33. Kyle was en route, if he was able to make it on fuel, for a top 5 finish, as he was one of those drivers on the pit sequence that had topped off under the first caution, and he becomes the 2nd caution of the day here with that spin over in turn 4. Sets us up for what should be a very interesting restart. Jacob Thibodeaux, who brought out this yellow, is the race leader. Can he make it on fuel? We're about to find out. Well, I thought we were going to be able to go back green, but the lights are still on atop the pace car, and we're going to be getting the 1 lap to go mark here this time around. The white flag will be displayed over the hood of Jacob Thibodeaux. This is going to be, I think, maybe one of the most controversial races we have had this season. As, let's be honest, Jacob Thibodeaux wrecked his way into the win, turning K Mathews, inherited the race lead, stayed out, and looks like he may be coming around for his 3rd win on the season. This may be a very unpopular win for Jacob Thibodeaux. I kind of think back to season 1 when it was the Charlotte Roval. Jesse Turner got into the back of Dylan Pote going into the chicane, wrecked him, went on to win that race. Yes, it was a big win for Jesse Turner, but kind of was clouded over by the fact that he had dumped the then race leader to be able to win that race. Well, I think this is definitely going to fit into that same category. Jacob Thibodeaux is certainly going to shake things up playoffs-wise as well, with bringing out that caution when he did. But On the flip side of all that, Jacob Thibodeaux is also going to be joining Dylan Young as a 3-time winner this season as a rookie. No driver as a rookie has had more than 2 wins, and now Thibodeaux is going to have 3 for the 33. And as soon as I say that, he's running out of fuel. Now he's got to hope he can clutch it and make it past the start-finish line. If he doesn't, guess who's going to win? Be back-to-back wins for Michael Norman. Oh my goodness. And Thibodeaux slowing. He is slowing. He cannot maintain pace speed. Thibodeaux is not going to win this race. Michael Norman is going to go back-to-back. His first win of the season was last week at the Charlotte Roval, and 1 week later, based off of where he came off pit road in that cycle of pit stops just before the caution came out, Michael Norman's going to win this race. How the tables have turned on this final lap. Michael Norman, who was one of the last drivers to come to pit lane under that cycle of pit stops, is going to be the first one to cross the line. He's going to get his second straight victory of the season, and he's going to get to kiss the yard of bricks here today at Indianapolis. Without a doubt, maybe one of the most controversial races of the season. And this is going to be very interesting to be working the calculators to figure out who's in and who's out. Some easy answers up there in the top 10. Austin LaPlante, 3rd place. He's into the next round. Carson Gum, 4th. He's into the next round. Matt Haas in 8th. Is he into the next round? We'll have to see where he finished in relation to J Millz and R Brommer. Standings should be official. Oh, Millz finished right behind the 8 car, so it might be J Millz moving on. Matt Haas may have been eliminated. We'll figure that out in a moment. Let's look down and see other confirmations, though. Vincel Mriego in 11th. He's going to be locked in. His standings are now official. Levi McIntyre came in with that huge points gap. He's locked in with a 16th place run. Cody Lamas, 18th. I believe he's locked in. James Qualls, he had a 19-point gap, and he finished in 21st. Yep, that's enough for him to get locked in. Jack Mitchell had a 14-point gap. He finishes 22nd. We're going to have to work the calculators, I think, between himself and Matt Haas, as I believe right now J Millz would have knocked Nathan Hudson out. It's a question if anybody else got knocked out. And the 2 drivers I'm looking at in particular are Jordan Lopez and Jack Mitchell. Carter Friesen, we already know, was locked in with his Richmond win in 27th. R Brommer, I think he is out, finishing in 29th. I think he's one of the 4 that's going to be eliminated. Nathan Hudson's going to be, I think, another one, finishing in 35th. And Zach Rogers, I believe, is going to be another one, finishing in 17th. He was technically a must-win situation driver. So the 2 drivers we got to look at on whether they are still in or not would be Jordan Lopez and Jack Mitchell. The driver that they would have to worry about, I believe, would be Matt Haas in the 8. J Millz was a total of only 5 points behind Nathan Hudson, and he finished 2 positions behind Matt Haas. So he would be ahead of the 8, ahead of the 24. J Millz is moving on to the round of 12. Now, what about the 8 of Matt Haas? So let's first compare him between himself and Jack Mitchell. The gap between those 2 was 23 points. Haas finished in 10th. He would have needed Mitchell to finish in 34th or worse. Mitchell finished 22nd. So Mitchell, according to the calculations, is moving on to the next round. Let's find out about Lopez, and I have a feeling this is going to be a no as well because Lopez was running higher in the standings than Mitchell was. Gap between Matt Haas and Jordan Lopez was 36 points. In order for Matt Haas to make it in, it would have had to have been 47th or worse for Jordan Lopez. That's not going to happen. So Lopez, despite the 38th place run today, that runner-up finish at Richmond 2 weeks ago, definitely going to pay big dividends. So if my calculations are correct, I believe the four drivers that are not moving on to the next round, a couple of drivers for the first time in their playoffs career making it into the postseason, Nathan Hudson and Matt Haas, they will make an early exit, and both of the Bulldog Motorsports Dodges, that is a shocker, Brommer and Rogers, they will not be even moving on to the second round of the playoffs, the round of 12. Let's not forget that for back-to-back seasons, that team, both drivers have made it into the playoffs. Zach Rogers has been in the Final Four in back-to-back seasons. Ryan Brommer was last year's runner-up to Ryan Acosta, and neither driver are going to be moving on here in the chase for the championship. That is a shocker. But how about Michael Norman? Talk about getting hot at the right time. He dominated last week at Charlotte Roval. Here today, he kind of lucked into a win with the timing of that caution and the timing of him coming to pit road for his green flag pit stop with just a few laps remaining. He wins under caution today at Indianapolis, but back-to-back victories. He's now a two-time winner just like that, and that's the second time in back-to-back seasons that he has been a multi-time winner. He was a two-time winner last year as well. Both his wins then came at dirt tracks. But hope you guys enjoyed today's race here from Indianapolis. If you did, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and become part of the crew today. We have shown you full finish results. These are what your point standings look like heading into next week, as well as your playoff points. I'm pretty certain that your 4 drivers eliminated from the playoffs after this first round, Matt Haas, Nathan Hudson, Zach Rogers, and Ryan Brommer. That leaves us 12 moving on to next week for the round of 12 starting at Hillside Raceway. But until then, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching a production of the NCRA Offline Racing as Best. So long from the Yard of Bricks.